So this was a launch video that we made right when Wyze Cam came out. We got all these comments, and the second comment that we got ever was asking us for a waterproof and outdoor camera.
Since the beginning of Wyze Cam, users have overwhelmingly asked for one thing: the outdoor cam.
It's like we've been waiting to reply to this one person, Yal100. They've got 7 upvotes. It took us 2 years to like that, but we're ready to like it now.
You wanted an outdoor cam so bad that even though the original Wyze Cam can't technically or legally hold up to the elements, you guys have been putting them outside anyways. The porch, sides of the house, sometimes in the yard. There's this awesome user, Gary, in Arizona, who puts them all over his property, and he just has like this spaghetti bowl of extension cords going everywhere.
This is what the wiring looks like. This arrangement here, over at the water dude, and this cord runs back to there for the pan cam, and here, the water dish.
He protects the camera with a single piece of duct tape on the back. It's a good thing Gary lives in the desert, because that's not going to hold up under much rain.
To Gary and Wyze users everywhere, it's finally time. It's time we cut the cord. Check this out. Before we get into the details of how this thing works, let's go back to the beginning.
So this is our user roadmap. Folks can jump in here to get updates on upcoming products. They can discuss what it is that they're most excited about, things that they're hoping to see. Easily our top has been an outdoor or weatherproof Wyze Cam. In the very beginning, we sent out a survey asking customers what you would want from an outdoor camera. We had a conversation about what the single most important feature they were looking for, and weather resistance. Weather resistant, weatherproof. Not just water resistance, but snow and cold and high temperatures, heat tolerance from someone in Arizona. So we excluded price from the survey because we knew that that was something which Wyze is famous for. We want to be able to bring this to as many people as possible. But with that known, the two things that people cared about a lot were the waterproofing and also the battery life, wireless. We also have things like night vision, secure mounting systems, also lots of requests in here for motion detection. All of these things for an incredibly low price.
By far, the scariest requirement on that list, the battery.
The battery.
We knew the battery was going to be a challenge because we also want the motion detection. That's a really, really hard combination.
In order for the camera to detect motion, it has to be running. And if the camera's running, obviously it's using battery power. And if it's constantly running and using battery power, that battery power is not going to last very long.
But you also told us the battery power needs to last several months.
So we had some work to do. Let's compare that real quick to Wyze Cam B2, which is plugged in and has a constant supply of power. It detects motion by comparing one frame against the next frame to see if anything's changed. If it sees changes, it knows that motion has occurred, and it sends you an alert. So if we were to use the same motion detection method on a battery-powered camera, how long do you think the battery would last?
Probably a day.
A day. I doubt our users are going to be very happy with a battery that lasts a day. We needed a different solution. So we landed on a PIR trigger, a passive infrared sensor. If you don't know what that is, it's basically just an electronic sensor that detects heat.
A PIR sensor consumes very little power.
Now, we didn't think that building this PIR sensor would be that hard because we already use this technology in our battery-powered indoor motion sensors. So we were pretty confident that we could make this camera in under a year.
But when we put a PIR sensor outdoors, it's a completely different story.
There's just so many variables when you put this technology outside, with the sun moving through the sky or the wind blowing through the air and moving that heat all around. And initially, on our first product, we just had so many false motion alerts.
That's the final version?
Final version.
Okay, so it went from this all the way to this.
These are some different explorations of ideas. I try a different way of looking at it also.
Do you guys think it looks like a Death Star?
I'm a Star Wars nerd, so everything looks like a Death Star to me. Go through the foliage.
It's hard to describe just how big of a challenge this was. The team spent more than a year trying to get this algorithm just right.
So we tested day after day to tweak the refined algorithm.
Yeah, like how close does the motion have to be? How fast should it fire? How do we make sure we don't have false positives but not be so aggressive that we miss actual motion?
The bottom part is actually where the PR sensor is. Make sure the triggered motion is in the center of the camera view. We don't recommend to aim it at direct sunlight or waving tree branches.
But as soon as we had figured out that challenge, we ran into a new challenge. And that was that the camera was just consuming way too much battery power.
It's clear this couldn't just be a V2 on battery.
We had to take a hard look at every component, every process within the camera to see where we could reduce the power consumption.
Okay, so what we are looking on the left, this is our main board. This have the CMOS sensor and the main CPU. This is the Nginx chip.
As a result, we completely redesigned the internal components of the camera, and we added a lightweight MCU processor to take some of the load off of the heavier CPU processing.
On the PIR sensor module, there is a little MCU that shares the processing power with the main CPU, so we can be very power efficient.
So a battery-powered camera is awesome, but it does come with some sacrifices, and one of the sacrifices we had to make was continuous recording. Obviously, if you set the camera to record continuously, it's going to kill the battery within a matter of hours.
You wouldn't necessarily have the same experience as a V2 where you can continuously record the SD cards and then play back. But we do have a function that called scheduled recording where you can continuously record to the camera. For some special cases, if you wanted to record something with no wire, you wouldn't use it on a day-to-day basis.
But as a trade-off, we did add a couple features to this camera for local storage. First, we removed the 5-minute cooldown period that you typically see on the V2 camera, and we made it just 1 minute. And we also have an option where you can put a micro SD card in the base station of the camera, so that if someone were to come along and steal the camera, you would still have those motion clips saved inside your house in the base station.
So once we felt the battery was in a good place, it's time to make sure the camera was truly weatherproof.
You're even wearing flip-flops. You are perfectly equipped for this. Yes.
Hold your hand.
No, it's not about holding hand. I just got brand new shoes. So this could have been easy. I have a coworker that absolutely could have done this. He's already wearing flip-flops. What? Oh, God. The Wyze Cam Outdoor is totally weatherproof. We've got it IP65 rated, and we've done all sorts of super weird and fun tests with it.
The first major test we ran on this camera was a water test. We got this big IP65 certified spraying machine and just sprayed the camera all day long to see if it would leak. And how many leaks did we have?
We found 12 leaks on the first try.
We put the cameras through lots of additional tests to see how they would react. Freezer tests, drip tests, all sorts of stuff. Everything to make sure that it could hold up in the most extreme environments. You know, we're gonna be manufacturing hundreds and thousands of these things. How would we check each individual camera as it came off the manufacturing line to make sure it didn't have any leaks? And to do that, we came up with a pretty cool solution. We basically made this chamber where we pumped air into it and we put the camera inside, and we could test to see if any of the air went into the camera through that process. And of course, if air leaks into the camera, then water can too.
Every camera on our production line goes through this process.
Some of you might be asking, how did that get there? I'll tell you right now, Lee didn't put it there. Yeah.
After all this work and all this testing, the cameras were finally ready to send to our beta testers. So we wanted a wide range of weather. So we shipped beta units all across the country, from Arizona to Alaska. Then Wyze users started doing what Wyze users do. Putting the camera in all sorts of situations and just testing it like crazy.
So the testing showed us that the weatherproofing was great, but the user has identified some problems that we have to fix. There was an issue where the seal around this basically wasn't sealed well, and there was light leaking from there, and it caused the pollution in the image. It looks white and washed out. So I don't know if you can see it, but this time it's much better.
After making the hardware changes and doing more PIR testing, we went through the process again. We sent out a whole other round of products to beta testers to test out. This time the results were much better. The users were loving the hardware and they gave us the thumbs up to launch the product.
I'm so excited.
That's a happy day right there. Give him a honk.
Thomas is the train engine.
Come on. What's up? Hold on, we gotta move a car seat. Come out. Oh yeah, we're good. So we wanted to show you one last thing. We wanted Wyze Cam Outdoor to be not just another outdoor camera. We wanted it to have an extra special feature. Welcome to Wyze Campground here on Lake Sammamish, Washington. Dongsheng over here is putting a micro SD card into the Wyze Cam Outdoor and setting up our time lapse. So this camera has a new feature called travel mode. It's a feature where you can connect your phone to the camera without needing any outside Wi-Fi connection. You might be in a hotel room, traveling. You might be out here camping in the great outdoors. Anywhere you want to go, you take Wyze Cam Outdoor with you to keep an eye on all the things you care about.
So today, after nearly 2 years of production, we're announcing Wyze Cam Outdoor.
It hasn't been an easy journey.
So the three of us founded Wyze just over 2 years ago, and this is the hardest thing we've ever done. We couldn't have done it without the hundreds of beta testers who put in thousands of hours to make this the best outdoor camera on the market for the best price. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Speaking of price, what is this thing gonna cost?
The camera itself will cost $39.99. But when you start off, you better buy the starter pack, which includes one camera and one base station. And that's $49.99 altogether.
It's finally here.
It's finally here. So tonight we're gonna celebrate with some s'mores. We wanted the outdoor cam to be all about freedom. Freedom from wires. Free to take it wherever you want. Put it up high or down low. In an attic or in a crawl space. Put it next to your kid to make sure they're doing their homework. Or practicing the piano when you're in the other room. Pack it in your suitcase. Put it all around the sides of your house. Make this super flexible device that lets you quickly and easily put eyes on all the stuff you care about. Over the last 2 years, we've seen you take Wyze Cam V2 all the places you weren't supposed to take it, building all sorts of inventions to keep Wyze Cam safe from the weather. If you could get that creative with an indoor camera, we can't wait to see what you do with Wyze Cam Outdoor.